You asked how it began. Here you go.
But what about the city of the day after tomorrow, say the year 2000? I think it will be completely different. In fact, it may not even exist at all.
People would typically compare the rise of the internet to the development of the printing press in the 15th century. The scale is dramatically different, but the idea that suddenly, for the first time, people had much wider access to information than they'd had heretofore is similar. Something that's captured on a tablet or papyrus in Egypt can flow across space, right? So it's not communication that's limited to just a few people who happen to be present when something is said and can hear it. It also can be read today when it's written, tomorrow, a year from now, 30 years from now, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now. With the advent of the printing press, this precipitates sort of an explosion of the availability of printed text, which brings within reach of the common person access to a lot more information and the interplay of ideas that otherwise have been restricted.
A world in which we can be in instant contact with each other, wherever we may be, where we can contact our friends anywhere on Earth, even if we don't know their actual physical location.
The advent of electronic communication made the communication experience richer and more immediate for people.
A man to conduct his business from Tahiti or Bali.
Eventually, with the television, all this comes into the home.
Any administrative skill, even any physical skill, could be made independent of distance.
In the Industrial Revolution, what you see is larger and larger industrial enterprises being built, where more and more individual employees are plugged into specific roles within those factories. People maybe became comfortable with the idea of working for a large employer and having the security that came from being a part of this large enterprise. But at the same time, you become very dependent on a single employer. Perhaps you become constrained in that your role within that factory is very limited. In the 21st century, we are increasingly empowered to create and do things on our own.
Men will no longer commute, they will communicate.
The internet gave the broad powers of creativity to individuals and connected them with a potential audience spanning across the whole world. And pretty much everybody in this country has access to a laptop and the internet. Along with that kind of creative empowerment comes perhaps a desire for more freedom and flexibility in other aspects of your life. Work being just another part of your life that you fit into your schedule, that you do on your terms.
When that time comes, the whole world will have shrunk to a point.
Here's what I found for I Need Freedom.
I went to school for architecture, thought I was going to do that for the rest of my life. And then in 2008, I was called into my boss's office, and he told me to sit down. And then, I started hearing on the news, all the stuff about the recession in 2008, and I finally realized that I was just part of those statistics. When I got laid off, it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But when I think back now, it turns out that that was the best thing that could ever happen to me.
In a different lifetime, I was a school counselor. So all excited, graduated college, spent 8 years, got a master's degree, all that good stuff. The housing market crashed, the budget cuts. I was working in California at the time, and I had lost my job. I was just depressed. The first thing I sold on Etsy was like a really gaudy little carpet bag purse that had fake little jewels on it. It was still really cute.
It's a natural thing to want to go for the gold. You're looking up the mountain towards the cool jobs, and then I got close to a couple of those, and I had the one job, but there were big meetings, and there were, having to get on planes, and then sometimes, a client yelling at you. Even if I make less money, I want to work for people that I want to be around.
I didn't have control and freedom over my time, over my day-to-day. I would be helping to share somebody else's voice, message, and mission with the world, which is good for them, but it wasn't good for me. And I realized that I really wanted to be spending my time and energy doing other things.